Married couple Bol and Rial escape war-torn South Sudan with their daughter Nyagak. Unfortunately, as they travel across the stormy sea along with fellow refugees, their overcrowded motorboat capsizes. Bol and Rial survive, but Nyagak and some of the other refugees do not. Bol and Rial arrive in the UK. As they're about to leave the facility, a random man says, "Don't get your hopes up because Trump's anti-immigration influence has invaded UK." After some time, they are released from detention as asylum seekers. Until they become citizens, they have to strictly follow a set of conditions. If they fail to do so, even just once, they will be returned to detention and may face deportation. They arrive at their assigned house in England, where Mark, the caseworker responsible for housing them, is waiting for them. Mark gives them a basket of goods, and as he shows them around their worn-out and stink house, he informs them about the house rules. He then draws them a map so they'll know where the clinic is. Before he leaves, he advises them to get along with everyone, fit in, and be one of the good ones. I'm ready to slap Damien Targaryen. While Bol becomes emotional, Rial stares at Nyagak's doll, remembering Nyagak. She pulls out a thread of beads from its dress and wears it as a necklace. That night, the couple feels thankful that they get to live a new life as if they're born again. Later in the living room, Bol hears a girl humming. When he goes to check who it is, he is startled by the sound of a heavy object falling behind him. He then hears laughter, running footsteps, panting, whispering, screaming, and shouting. As he covers his ears, his breathing gets heavier and faster, and the noise grows louder. After a few seconds of silence, he hears a girl humming again, and some rustling and clicking sounds that seem to come from the wall. He presses his ear against it and is startled when he hears a loud thump. As he checks the huge glory hole in the lower part of the wall, Nyagak appears behind him and lets out a gasping scream. The scared Bol turns around, but she disappears. When he turns back to the hole, a crow flies out of it, startling him. I'd be asking for a different house real quick. The next morning, Rial sees Bol fixing the door. When she sees Nyagak's doll in the trash, she takes it out. While taking out the trash, Bol waves at one of their neighbors, but the white hoe ignores him. Looking around, he realizes that their front lawn is the only dirty lawn in their neighborhood. As he walks home after getting a haircut, a man who recognizes him as a refugee calls him into church, where he gives him a box of goods. At a bar, patrons are watching football, start singing about English former professional footballer Peter Crouch. Bol sings along, and the patrons smile at him as they raise their glasses. When he gets home, he tells Rial about the song. While he thinks the song is funny, she thinks it's the worst song she's ever heard. She then tells him that she might go out the next day, which delights him. Bol awakens in the middle of the night and hears thumping sounds and footsteps again. Since he's not a Black American, he goes down to check what it is. The wallpaper in the living room comes off, revealing another huge glory hole. Boggled as to why the wall is wet, he reaches inside the hole to check it. When he grabs a protruding object from inside the hole, something crashes behind him and the lights go out. Bol pulls out what seems to be a steel wire, but after a few pulls, it becomes a rope that is used to haul boats, and it seems like he's pulling it out from the sea because it's covered with seaweed. At the end of the rope is Nyagak's doll, and then a hand reaches out to grab it and pull it back into the hole, scaring him. When he looks away for a second, he hears a girl humming again, and he is boggled to find the wall dry and completely covered in wallpaper again. Sure that he's not crazy, he rips all the wallpaper off the wall, but the hole isn't there. The next morning, Rial sees the mess and is over her husband's DIY project. When Rial opens a closet, she sees Nyagak with other refugees in a vehicle. Meanwhile, Bol buys a hammer and other tools. Although she has the map Mark drew, Rial gets lost on her way to the clinic, so she asks for directions from the 3 teenagers she sees. As she walks away, they mock the way she speaks and her appearance, and they tell her to return to Africa because their land is only for the English. These pick-me boys need a history lesson. In the clinic, Dr. Hayes notices Rial's tribal marks, prompting Rial to share that she used a knife to give herself the marks on her arms after she found her family butchered. She says they have 2 tribes back home, and the people's marks depend on which tribe they belong to. The 2 tribes are killing each other, and she has survived because she marked herself with both. When she gets home, she sees a girl peeing on their property while she's putting her groceries on the kitchen counter. While sitting on the living room floor, she hears a loud thump from the kitchen and sees peaches fall on the floor. After a male voice says, "Come," one peach rolls and stops next to her. When she's about to pick it up, the voice says, "Come," again, and it continues to roll and enters the hole in the wall. This is some Candyman shit. I don't fuck with it. That night, Bol arrives home and sees Rial sitting on the floor with their dinner. Trying to adapt to their new country, he asks her to use the table next time and gives her utensils, which she dislikes using because she can only taste the metal. He happily shares that he has seen jobs there and is hopeful that they'll thrive. When he says they can start a family there, she shares with him a story her mother used to tell her. Rial narrates that there was a poor man in their village who wanted a house of his own so bad that he started stealing from people, including an old man who lived by the river. The old man was an apeth, or a night witch, and that when he built his house, the apeth would live there too. Soon the walls whispered the apeth's spells, the dead came from the shadows, and the apeth didn't stop until it consumed him. She then relates this story to what they're currently experiencing, saying an apeth has risen from the ocean and has followed them there. She says the apeth told her that they don't belong there, and that leaving and repaying their debt would guide them back to Nyagak. Bol insists on moving on and adapting to their new country, but she insists on clinging to their culture. Later, Bol is attacked by a masked Nyagak. That alone would send me the fuck out of there. Despite Rial's resistance, Bol burns everything they've brought, including Nyagak's doll and Rial's necklace, thinking they're cursed. Bol shops for new clothes so they can dress like the English. All he needs is busted teeth. Still refusing to believe the apeth, he encourages Rial to go out and interact with other people, so she won't frighten herself with imaginary things. Boy, you the one seeing things. While having dinner at home, Bol's consciousness suddenly perceives him to be having dinner in the middle of the sea, where the apeth appears and speaks to him. Upon seeing a decomposing corpse with a moving eyeball holding his legs, the scared Bol tries to run away, but more decomposing refugee corpses emerge from the sea and surround him. Bol wakes up in their dark living room, where a decomposing corpse walks towards him. Scared, he turns the lights on, causing it to disappear. He hears a male voice and Nyagak asks for help, with Nyagak saying she can't swim, and sees wet footprints walking towards him. When a masked Nyagak appears and turns the lights off, decomposing refugee corpses surround him and hold him in place while Nyagak positions a knife to slit his throat. Fortunately, a hyperventilating Bol manages to turn the lights on, causing everything to disappear. As he tries to calm himself down, he sees Nyagak in the hole in the wall, staring at him. He chases her around, slamming the walls with a hammer and screaming at her to leave his house. Bol heads to Mark's office and requests to be transferred to a new house, saying rats and bugs are making them sick. When Mark tells him that they need to conduct an investigation first, he breaks the glass in his hand and they all stare at him like he's black, so he leaves. Meanwhile, at home, Nyagak gives Rial back her necklace while the other dead refugees are watching her. When Bol gets home, the decrepit white woman tells him to just leave. Mark and another officer visit the house and see the holes in the walls. Bol begs Mark not to report it, reminding him that they're the good ones, and promises to fix it because he doesn't want to be deported. After Mark tells him that he'll let him off with a warning, Rial, who's dressed in colorful clothes from her culture, tells them that the witch living in the house is tormenting Bol and that he has been chasing it all night with a hammer. Thinking it doesn't make sense, Mark decides to write the report. After they leave, Rial says Bol bends to the mayonnaise people so easily, fighting for their unseasoned food. She says to let them deport them and expresses her desire to leave. But Bol reminds her that they've gone through a lot just to get there, and stops her from mentioning Nyagak. Insisting that that's their home now, he removes all the knobs of windows and doors so Rial can't leave. Bol lights a candle and summons the apeth on his own. The apeth calls him a thief and demands that he repay what he owes, saying his life is not his because he stole it. He adds that he will follow him wherever he will go. When he asks what he wants, the apeth tells him, "Your life for Nyagak." He offers him a knife, telling him to open his flesh with it. Bol puts his hand on the fire in front of him, and he realizes that he can't physically hurt him. He mocks him, prompting the apeth to put him into a state of catatonia. While Bol's consciousness is taken hostage in the middle of the ocean, his body at home is sitting still with teary eyes wide open, but he's peeing his pants. Rial is confused with Bol's state, but she takes this opportunity to try to open doors and windows with a screwdriver and pliers. Bol wakes up and tries to stop her, but she stabs his knee with the screwdriver and successfully escapes through a window. She runs out, but she gets confused as to why she's back in a South Sudan classroom. This is because of the seamless shift between her reality and her consciousness. Rial is happily greeted by old friends. When she looks for Nyagak, they tell her that she doesn't have a daughter. The classroom is where all her friends were massacred, and Rial only survived because she hid inside the corner cabinet. Bol found the traumatized Rial, and they escaped the area. But the bus they had to ride was only letting people with children in. Seeing Nyagak looking for her mother, Bol claimed her as their child, and they were finally let in. When Nyagak's mother saw Nyagak inside the bus and called her, Bol tried to stop Nyagak from calling her back. As the bus drove away, Nyagak's mother ran after the bus, but her screams soon faded against the sound of gunfire. Bol, Rial, and Nyagak later crossed the sea, where Nyagak died. Damn, that was a crazy plot twist I didn't see coming. Rial sobs as she remembers the truth. The apeth then tells her that he can bring Nyagak back. Giving her a knife, he says he'll give her what she wants if she severs Bol's flesh and gives him his body. Bol finds Rial unconscious on their lawn and takes her inside. Rial wakes up and sobs after seeing that Bol, who has decided to repay his debt, has sliced his arm open with the knife. As he waits for the apeth to come for him, he tearfully tells her that he should have tried harder to save Nyagak. He shares that he can see all the dead refugees and asks her to leave because he's coming. Soon after she leaves, the apeth appears, proving that the monster was always old white politicians. It starts entering Bol's body through his wound. Meanwhile, Nyagak appears and holds Rial's hand. Choosing to save Bol, The sobbing Rial lets go of Nyagak's hand and slits the apeth's throat with the knife. Soon, Mark and two other officers inspect the house, and they find the wall holes covered and the wall half-painted. As the two officers take photos around the house, Mark asks the couple about the witch, and he chuckles when Bull says Rial killed it. When asked about the rats, Bull says he was just a little dramatic. When asked if he still sees Nyagak, Bull says the ghost of one's past never leaves a person, and it's when he faced the ghosts of his past that he was finally able to face himself. Rial tells Mark that the house is their home, and Bull adds that they're happy there. After Mark and the two officers leave, the ghosts of Nyagak and other refugees appear. Instead of looking like decomposing corpses, they now look normal and healthy. This is an incredible story that ties in a lot of the horrors of what's happening in Sudan. I also liked how it included the immigrant struggle of trying to fit in a new environment, yet still missing a country that is no longer safe to go back to. It's streaming on Netflix and deserves a watch. What did you guys think of this one?
Hey, if you like this video, make sure you subscribe now and turn on the notification because YouTube isn't recommending my videos. And if you'd like to watch more foolishness, click here or here.